It's David Bloom with Forbes and XTMT. Hi, Neil. I wanted to just say hello. By the way, we have met before
Yes, we have.
20 years ago when you were a wee lad at the Walking Tall premiere, and I met
Oh,
all
is
your.
that what it was? I know your face, but I
Yeah,
didn't know it was Walking Tall.
it was Walking Tall. We both went to Barnstable High. I ran track with your older brother and was in your
That's
class.
exactly right. That's right. Oh my gosh, it's all coming back.
Yeah, yeah. So this is actually Sandy Neck Beach in my mom's
I was
home.
going to say that looks like home.
Yeah, yeah. I just put it up for you because
Thank you very much.
I don't really bond with the black curtains, but I understand. So.
I did a TV series a couple of years ago. I forget which one it was. Uh, and this guy came up to me and goes, "I hear you from the Cape, and I know what part of Cape you're from." And he gave me an old motel. It was a Sandy Neck motel
Oh,
blue keychainy thing. They had
oh,
to, and I have it on my dresser and I look at it all the time. It just
that is
brings me back.
fantastic. Right. You got to drive. So I was living in West Barnstable at that time. So what Sandy Neck was the closest beach. It's just cold as crap.
Oh yeah, cold. Oh my gosh, so cold. So
Oh,
it was awesome. Loved it.
yeah.
I miss it
So
like crazy.
it is delightful to connect with you again after really a couple of decades. You've had a few things going on since then, but this is really an interesting one. So I wrote a piece for Forbes recently about Angel Studios and their whole model. And you're a producer, not just a pretty face on this one, right? So,
Writer, producer, star in it.
writer, producer,
Yeah.
but producer in particular, because as a producer, you've got a business thing that you've got to worry about above and beyond delivering your lines and then going to the commissary or
Well, a
something.
few years ago, Reve and I, we started producing our own movies, and we started with a little $350,000 budget. Sold that, then we went out and Reve went out and raised 1.5 to do part two of that. It was Redstone, and then part two was Boone. And then we did other films, four or five other films along the way, and then the budgets just started to grow, and then went from 2 million to 3 million to 5 million to 6 million to 7 million. Now this one's 8.5 million. The next one's going to be somewhere near 12 million. So for a kid from Hyannis, Massachusetts, we're doing, and it seems like they're all basically in the Western world. And as a kid, my dad used to make us go out to Melpit Farms out in Dennis all the time and ride horses. And we used to moan about it so much, the five brothers. And, my dad would say, "You'll thank me one day, boys. You'll thank me one day." And I'm thanking him now because all
Ah,
the
right.
westerns that I've been in, all the horses I've been riding and for the last several years. Thank you, Dad, for being there for me and making me ride horses as a kid.
I just want to say though, I'm guessing Dad did not make you ride really upset bulls also as a kid.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. But that was a whole different thing. When I was doing another western at the time called The Warrant, and I was driving home from work one night when I'm away from Reve and the kids, when I'm on location, I get kind of miserable. I just hole up in my hotel room and just miss him like crazy. Well, I was driving home one day and I got this gut punch thinking, what would happen to me if anything ever happened to Reve? And then I just started writing. And on the side of the road, I came up with this idea that I know was a gift from above. Write a movie about Rocky on a bull, about a grandfather that has to go back and ride to save his grandson's life because he's dying from the same brain tumor that killed his wife.
Mm.
I'm a fairly smart guy, but I knew nothing about bull riding, and this was a divine intervention. And within 24 hours, I had the first outline, and within a week, my writing partner and I, Derek Presley, wrote our first draft. And the next week, Reve and I went out and raised the money and set up distribution with Angel Studios, and here we are. And then we got to hire the amazing, my favorite director of all time, whom I've worked with so often, who's been kind of a mentor to me, but also like just really like a big brother to me, is John Avnet. And he pulled out all the tricks, and he made that $8.5 million film look like a $50 million budgeted film. So
Yeah.
everything is, I owe so much to John and his direction on this film.
Well, as a producer, eight and a half million doesn't go as far as it used to, but I mean, you can find your stuff. I'm curious. The model of Angel is interesting, where you have to get sort of okayed
That's
by
right.
the million or so
The Guild. Yep.
subscribers. The Angels Guild, which I find really an interesting thing because it gives you a little bit of a pre-sold audience to show
That's
up on
right.
wide release, right? So
That's right. And the Angel Guild, when they vote for something, they support it 100%. They'll go out and buy tickets. They'll pay it forward to give tickets to people who can't afford tickets, because there's plenty of people out there who can't afford to go to movies. But the thing about Angel films, the more we support the Angel films like The Last Rodeo,
Hmm.
It's telling Hollywood enough of all this darker, crazier stuff. We want more stuff that talks to the heartland of America and what America ideals are and the family and faith and all those things that America was built upon. So that we get to touch upon that in our company, the McDonough Company, writing these films and producing these films is really just kind of amazing, David, that they've given us the opportunity to keep doing these things where I don't have to be the villain anymore. I get to be the good guy. I get to kiss the woman in the end. Of course, the woman I kiss in the end is none other than my actual wife, Reve. So I'm in a really great spot right now, and I couldn't be happier to be where I am because of Angel Films and John Avnet.
Yeah. So your next film's with Angel too, right? It's also a Western, if I recall.
Another Western, yeah, The Wicked and the Righteous, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have when I talked with the guys at Angel, they were saying it's not purely faith-based, but it is amplifying light, I think is the
Yeah.
term that they use.
Yeah, we're not, Reve and I aren't trying to make anything but good films. We just want to make good movies that entertain people. Now, if you can infuse some faith in there, which is what we do, great. It's rather subliminal, but it's certainly there. So to say that we're making faith-based films isn't really the truth. We're making movies, and the movies that have a backdrop of faith. This one also has a massive backdrop of bull riding, which is just kind of the bull riding sequences in this are you feel like you're watching a PBR event. And the PBR allowed us to use not only their bulls, they set up the arena so it looked exactly like a PBR event, but they let us use their riders and their real names to kind of authenticize the whole thing. So we're in a really great spot to do a sports movie that you get to use the actual real riders, and PBR supported 100%. So we're so honored, but we need people to actually go to the theaters and buy tickets and support this kind of film.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My recollection from Adam is that you actually invested in PBR, or you got into it in a way that we would not anticipate a boy from Hyannis, Massachusetts, a good Irish boy from.
2 years ago, Dave, if you talked to me about bull riding, I would know a little bit, but I wouldn't know a whole lot.
Yeah,
Now, Reve and I know so much that we actually are now part owners of the Austin Gamblers, the rodeo team. So we're very excited about that. We have the draft in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, and we went to the last event up in Boise where the team was playing. So I love being part of PBR. Sean Gleason is an amazing guy. Is now one of my dearest friends. But to be part of the PBR world by ownership is really something that is just quite awesome, and Reve and I are so proud of.
right. The circuit is owned by is it Endeavor? Am I recalling? Or
Endeavor, yep, yep.
yeah, they had a lot of stuff moving around with
They
TK.
have they have they have 51% ownership in TKO, which TKO is MMA, MMA,
Yeah,
wrestling, and
UFC.
PBR, and of course UFC, and of course William Morris Endeavor. It
Yeah.
was all part of it all.
What I get getting into the sport through doing all this stuff kind of cool, and certainly a riveting sport for all of its 8-second drama, right? But it's interesting being a sports owner. That's a thing a lot of people are doing, that have a few billion laying around, and it's a little cheaper to get into PBR, I'm guessing, than say an NFL team.
A little bit.
Um, but what was the appeal of actual ownership?
Well, PBR is just blowing up. That's the thing. And the original teams sold for the original 5 teams sold for $2 to $3 million per team. And then the last team just sold last year for I think $28 million
Wow.
just to buy in and have a team. So that's an exponential growth.
Yes.
So what does that say as an investor? I want to be part of that because the business just keeps growing and growing and growing. And what Silver Lake does and what all the guys over there, the investors, they know exactly what they're doing. And when they bought into PBR, they knew that this was a gold mine just sitting there because
Yeah.
PBR is unlike any other sporting event I've ever been to. Because if you go to NFL, you go to MLB, you go to any of these games, half of the people hate the other half in the audience.
Yeah.
And they're screaming stupid stuff. You're a bum, you blah blah blah. Especially in Boston,
It's
Fenway Park.
Boston fans,
It's just crazy. But you go to a PBR event. It starts with a prayer, which for me, as you know, being devout Catholic guy that I am, I loved that. And then throughout the whole evening, it's everyone is rooting for each rider to get 8 seconds, and that's just not the fans. And there's moms and dads and their kids, and everyone's hanging out. There's no guys getting drunk in fights at a PBR event.
Yeah.
But the great thing is you're watching the athletes. If you fall off and you have a bad ride, they're there to help pick you up. And they'll say, you get them the next time. This is your direct competition. And if you do a perfect ride, they're all high-fiving you saying, well done, great job. That's healthy competitive spirit that I love so much about PBR.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in any other sport. So it's a family culture, it's a family atmosphere, and I'm just blessed to be part of it as an investor, as a fan, and as a movie maker.
As you say, it is blowing up. How close were you to actually riding? Because I just saw the trailer. It's like, that looks like a bowl under you.
Yeah, getting on the bull is one thing, but
Yeah,
most of, and we did. But
yeah.
most of my stuff was all on the mechanical bull. But I'll tell you this, that mechanical bull, when you ride it over and over and over and over and over again, you get the snot beaten out of you. And it's not landing on those cushy pads that you have at some bar that has a bull in the background, that spongy, inflatable floor. You're landing on that hard dirt, or you're landing outside and when you're practicing. And, I got busted up a lot, but I loved every bit of it. Growing up in Barnstable High School and playing all those wonderful concussive sports that we all played,
Yes.
it prepared me for the knucklehead that I am to this day. So I'm very, very proud of Barnstable High School.
Were you, I'm sure you played football like I did. Did you play lacrosse also?
Hockey,
Hockey. Well, there you go.
hockey and baseball.
Yeah, that's pretty much the coma duo right there.
Yeah, yeah. All these teeth in the front have been broken through hockey fights and pucks and other things, machine guns from Band of Brothers and whatnot. But
Yeah.
this nose has been broken so many times, it's straight now. And it's just, and I keep telling that joke, but it's the truth. And I love just being physical. And this is something I got to really be physical with.
Yeah. But
Don't tell that to my kids, though, by the way. They don't need to know that part.
yeah, they don't even know that. But by my calculations, you're around 58 right now.
Yep, 59 now. Yeah,
59. Okay.
I turned 59.
So uh not as easy to get up off the dirt, I'm guessing, at this point in your career.
Yeah, but once you get the blood flowing and you're just cranked up, nothing's going to stop you when you're filming. It's at the end of the day when you get back to the hotel, you're like, oh gosh, that hurts. But you get used to it, and you kind of wear them like badges of honor. That you got thrown off a bull today, your back hurts, your knees all busted up, your fingers hurt like heck from grabbing. But that's all part of it. And I was never going to do anything less than 100% because I didn't want any bull rider to say, "Oh, that wasn't right. He didn't do that right."
Yeah.
We worked hard for months and months and months beforehand with ropes and saddles and bulls and horses and everything to make sure that I was prepared and ready to do this the best that I could.
Um, Curious what you think as a film producer and maker. There's been a lot of conversation this past week about tariffs on overseas film production. This, I'm guessing, was shot somewhere in maybe Texas. Where
Yep.
was it shot?
Texas and Oklahoma.
Texas, Oklahoma. Okay. So not an issue for you guys. Film may travel a little bit outside the country, but still not look like it's going to be. Is some of these, they're very loosely drawn suggestions at this point from the president. Any thoughts on what this can mean for filmmaking in general, Hollywood, or your component of it? You're a little bit.
Well, I'll take you one step further. I live in California,
Yeah,
and Hollywood is where obviously all the films began.
yeah,
And in the last 20 years, everything has been outsourced because it's cheaper to shoot in Atlanta. We put $4.1 billion into the economy last year from Hollywood into Atlanta. That's a lot of money.
yeah,
That's a lot of jobs that are taken away. I want to know what the divorce rate is in Hollywood because for actors, we get to travel back and forth. We're on the set for a couple days, might have a couple days off. But if you're a crew member, you're there 15 hours a day, 5 days a week on location. You never get to see your wife and kids.
right.
You're always away. So compound that by having to go to Bulgaria or to go overseas where they have the massive tax breaks. It's awful for the industry. But more importantly, I think, it's awful for families in America who are in the film industry.
Yeah,
So anything that we can do to bring any kind of film production back to the United States, great. Get it even more so. Bring some more film production back into California. And I wish our governor would do something to really make it enticing to bring where it should be. Film should be shot in California. We've got the ocean, we've got the deserts, we've got the mountains, we've got cities, we've got old architecture, new architecture, whatever you want. It's all in California. But nothing films in California. This whole film could have been shot in California.
yeah.
But nothing films here anymore.
Central
And
Valley, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
would be place certainly.
I hope Governor Newsom figures out a way to bring it back here.
Well, by all accounts, what I've been told is a bump from 330 million in tax rebates to 750, which is not nothing, particularly in a difficult budget year
In California.
in California.
Right, but the problem with that, as it has always been, is that's all. We're going to go off on a tangent now, but that's all below the line stuff. That doesn't pay for above the line. That doesn't pay for actors' fees, or directors' fees, or the big money fees that go to the whatever studio it's going to. That's
Right,
all the workers. So you still miss.
right.
You can do a $3 billion tax credit that works here, but if you're not paying above the line, you're missing at least half, if not more, of the budget. So you want to have it so it's all encompassing, not just
Yeah,
below the line,
right.
but everything,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's how you bring
absolutely
it
true.
back.
Right. Right. And John Voight's proposal included conversations for a national
That's right.
tax rebate thing. That,
Yeah.
uh, I
Go,
mean,
John.
it didn't really get talked about by the president in his social posts, but it feels like something that keeps people from venue shopping quite as much.
That's right.
Outside the country makes more sense than whatever tariff thing.
Anything they can bring film wise back to the United States, I'm 100% for it.
Yeah, that's great. Um, we'll see how that goes. So you all shot where in Texas did you shoot? I used to live in Texas for 5 years. So I'm always interested.
Most of the road sequences were all shot in Texas. We'd start in Austin, all the way to Houston, all the way to Kilgore, back to Dallas, and all the way up through Oklahoma. But most of the film was shot in Tulsa area.
Yeah. Oh, and Tulsa.
Tulsa's beautiful.
Yeah,
Tulsa's a
it is
great
a
town.
lovely area. It's the best looking part of Oklahoma, no doubt about that.
Oh, for sure. Tulsa's great.
Yeah. Um, well, that's cool. So, and the next film you'll be doing, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff of all kinds. And really, you could say Walking Tall was kind of a Western. It just was sort
That's
of,
right.
it
Yep.
kind of was, right? What is it about that appeals to you?
I love the Western culture. I love, I think my dad always pushed horses into my skull since I was a little boy.
Mm,
And I remember, we'd go to the Kentucky Derby together, me, my dad, my wife, Reve, and his wife, Peg. We would just have a ball going to the derbies. We just loved horses. We were always talking about
yeah,
horses. So it's kind of a natural progression. My favorite movies when I was a kid was, the Cowboys with John Wayne or Butch Cassidy, any of these types of films. I just loved those movies.
yeah,
There's a definitive good guy, there's a definitive bad guy, and you got to work hard to get to the end and do the right thing. Those are just the simple motifs that I've always loved.
yeah,
Now that I get to write about those things and be in those types of films and produce those films with my wife, I am in such a fantastic spot right now. I'm so blessed and fortunate to be exactly where I am right now.
yeah. Now, being a producer and a writer, as well as the actor, means you've got a lot of time devoted to that. You don't have time for projects beyond the ones you're owning, right?
Well, Tulsa King has been great, and now I'm back on Tulsa King again this year and probably next year. So that gives me time while I'm working on Tulsa King to write other scripts and come up with our other ideas, or prepare for our next film, which is The Wicked and the Righteous. It's Cain and Abel in the West, and it's a beautiful, beautiful film.
Yeah,
So it depends on when my schedule ends with Tulsa King. As soon as we find that out, I guarantee you this: 2 weeks later, we'll be in production on The Wicked and the Righteous.
that's great. I have to ask about your brother Jerry. I ran track and was in the physics class with Mr. Beveridge with him.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
That was a very
I was never smart enough to get into Beverage's classes, but yeah, that's okay.
well, Jerry, of course, was there younger than everybody else because he
That's
was
right.
working the angles, man, way before everybody, that whole Varsity Blues thing and Scandal and all that. He was like everything with the AP classes and
Oh,
everything.
he knew it. He knew it. He understood it.
Where is he? What is he doing?
He's living down with his girlfriend down in New Orleans right now, and he's enjoying his life. And all the McDonough kids are, Bob's still back there in Hyannis at Sign It Signs.
Yeah,
My brother Kier's in Boston. He's got his hedge fund still. John is retired now as a basketball coach for all those years. My sister Ellen is overseas in Ireland. She still lives there with her. She had a newspaper in Connemara. So everyone's doing well, and
that's great.
I don't get to see them enough living out here in California. But this summer I'm coming home to Cape Cod, and hopefully we get to see everybody.
Are you in SoCal also? I'm in Santa Monica, is why I asked.
Oh, great! Yeah, we're in Thousand Oaks area.
Okay, yeah, we go out there. My spouse has a doctor out there, so yeah, it's lovely out there and
It's
a little more
beautiful.
room for your horses.
That's right.
Though my mother has had horses for 30 years on the Cape, so um,
I miss the Cape. I miss it like crazy.
I miss it in September. Spanky's is still open in the Hyannis Harbor.
Is it really? I hear
Yes,
Baxter's is going by the way. I mean, the town is buying Baxter's and flattening it. That's just not right.
that's what I heard. Is it the
Not
town or
right.
is it the ferry? I can't remember, but
Or whatever. Yeah, I don't care who it is.
yeah,
How do you get rid of
Spanky's is
Baxter's?
still there. They actually, Ray Donovan, that show shot a movie and they used Spanky's for part of it.
No kidding.
And it was so funny because the waitresses, it was Ray Donovan. I had to go up and talk to him, like
That's awesome.
it was hilarious. It's like they said,
I
don't
miss
know
it.
the talent is. Yeah, but it was Ray Donovan. So like a couple of years ago. So
I miss that joint.
well, listen, Neil, it's a pleasure talking with you,
Great
reconnecting
seeing you.
after years. Good luck with the film. I
Thank
think
you.
you're hitting a fun spot, it looks like.
Yeah, it's again, if you like these types of films, people have to go and support. They got to buy tickets. You can pay it forward, like I said, through Angel, whatever the case is. But if you support this film, it gives us the ability as filmmakers to make more films that talk to the heartland of America, where you can bring the whole family to the cinema at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, great. Well, really interesting project, and you're floating in a certain corner of the zeitgeist. It's very interesting. So good luck with
Thank
that.
you. I'm enjoying it. That's for sure.
Take care.
God bless. We'll see you, David. Be well.